Proud Mary, keep on burning.
Like that.
Rolling, rolling. Chicken noodle. Hey guys, welcome once again to Emotional Nigga. I am your host, Joe Chanel, and today I'm joined with Messiah.
Hey guys.
You guys may have seen him in the first episode, Self Love. If you guys haven't seen it, I implore you to go and watch it before you watch this episode. I want to go into the show, which is relationships. Because last episode we talked about self-love. So now let's tie this into relationships. So last week you talked about self-love is now being exposed to black men culturally. What do you mean by that?
Exactly what I said. Self-love and everything involved in it is just now becoming prevalent amongst men in general, but particularly black men. There is a vulnerability that comes with addressing self-love that for a long time men did not allow themselves to experience.
Mm-hmm.
So the idea of loving yourself is fairly new.
True. Because you have to love yourself before you can go into a relationship. Now, which brings the question, what is a relationship? Because for me, a relationship is, it could be a bond that you have with someone, whether it's family-oriented, friends, or a romantic relationship. Now, well, Messiah, what does that mean to you?
A relationship to me is any sort of interaction you have with another human being.
Mm-hmm.
And they take on multiple forms. You can have a friend, you can have family, you can have romantic relationships, which is like the first thing people think of when you hear the word relationships. You have working relationships. You have all different kinds of relationships, but at the bare basis, it is any sort of bond or interaction you have with another person. What do you think?
I agree. But are you in a relationship?
By my definition, yeah. I have friends and I got more families than most people got fingers and toes, so yeah.
All right, I like what you said, but so the audience can relate to what we're saying. I went out there to gather interviewers so they can give the definition of what relationship means to them.
Ooh.
Yeah. So all right, let's get into this. What does a relationship mean to you?
So relationship means something that is within and not just outside. It's a connection that bonds two people together, and it's not just for sexual stuff, but also for communication and how to live together and how people can survive together with love and everything. And that also depends on trust.
A relationship is a bond where the two people involved, they trust each other to as much as possible, and they share moments together.
Are you in a relationship?
No, I'm not right now.
Are you in a relationship?
No.
Would you say your friends right now that you have do you define that as a relationship?
Yes, that's a relationship. That's why it's called a friendship. It's like I said, it's a connection of two people, other people. So it doesn't have to be like sexual. And yeah.
Why do you think a relationship is sexual?
Because that's how people think nowadays. When you're in a relationship, you have to sleep with him or her, something like that. But it doesn't have to be like that.
So having friends isn't that a relationship?
Yeah. But I'm not in a romantic relationship with a partner.
But you say a relationship is sharing a bond with someone.
Yeah.
So.
Oh man. Yeah, but it's not the same as sharing a bond with somebody romantically.
Okay.
Friendships are different than relationships, than like romantic relationships to me. it's a different type of trust, different type of. It's also a different type of love, I would say. Because you love your friends a different type of way you're gonna love your significant other.
Wow. The last interviewer, what he just shared, like a different type of love that you have with each other, which is in a friendship and a relationship. But before we get into that, let's talk about family-oriented relationship. Because for me, family is the way they build you up so you can go out there and face the world. Those are the relationships that you start there. So what does that mean for you?
Your relationship with your family is very important. It is literally, to me, your family are the first people you ever meet in your life. And that is the first kind of relationship that you ever begin to form with humans. You learn the building blocks of how to be nice, how to talk to people, how to care about someone else's feelings, how to be considerate at home. And then, that's when you start going out into the world. That's why for 5 years of your life, you're at home with your parents, and then you get sent to school. Mm-hmm. So that's literally your foundation of how you treat people is your family. It's everything.
True. Because your family, that relationship that you have with them, because they're supposed to prepare you for the world. They're kind of supposed to prepare you for like the different type of relationship that you will face. But not saying that they will teach you everything, but it helps you determine how secure you are with yourself. Or the person you were insecure, or which, in other words, are you attachment anxiety or attachment avoidance, or are you secure with yourself? Now, we explained the definition of a family-oriented relationship. Now let's get this with friendship. Now this is where you, in middle school or in high school, you're supposed to learn how to make friends. Right. So my definition of friends is like, friends are there where you have like a mutual interest where you can build off from one another. Oh, you like to play baseball, I will play baseball with you, and we can go from there, and we will learn from one another. In other words, we have a support system in a sense, so we can grow together in different paths, but not one. What do you think a friendship is?
I like that you said it's a support system. To me, a friend is someone who I like spending time around you, and I like you as a person, and I like being around you. There's no, or sometimes there is, romantic implications behind that. I just genuinely like being around you as a person, and I feel as though I can trust you, and I allow you to be in my space.
When would you realize that a friend is fake?
I could run down the list of fake friendships I've had with people.
Keep it concise, tell me.
But the biggest thing to me is, as people, we mess up and we do things, and sometimes we hurt other people's feelings. If I bring to you, once I feel like I can't tell you that I don't like something you're doing, right there, the relationship is dead. Mm-hmm. If I tell you that you did something that hurt my feelings, and it's just like that went one ear right out the other, that's like the biggest red flag for me, because as a friend, you should care. You should never want to hurt my feelings. Mm-hmm. And even if you do it unwittingly, when I bring it to your attention, if you just don't care, then you must not be my friend.
Yep.
And that's been the death of a couple friendships of mine.
Because whenever friends show me their true colors, I just see who they are. I was like, oh, I see the way you think now, and I see the way you feel about me in this whole situation. Because whatever a situation arises, you can tell how your friend feel about you in this friendship in the beginning.
Right.
And now let's bring this in to friendship, because to build a relationship, you first have to be friends with someone. So, what is a romantic relationship?
Oh, you're asking me. Interestingly enough, I've never been in a romantic relationship. So, from what I've seen, in my eyes, you take the idea of a friendship and now you tack on a little bit more. So, you tack on you tack on maybe sexual interest, you tack on a deeper kind of trust. So there are things that you may tell your significant other that you might not tell a friend, or your significant other may be the first person you tell and then you tell your friends. You tack on a sense of, I may possibly be spending the rest of my life with you. That to me is like a romantic relationship.
So how is a friendship different from a romantic relationship? Because one of the interviewers, they were like, when I asked them, are they in a relationship, this response was no. And I was like, isn't a friendship a relationship? And they were like, oh, when you hear relationship, you think about it sexually. But we often get confused when we hear about relationship. Now let's break this down. How is a friendship different from a relationship? And let me explain this. Because when I said before, a friendship is two people growing together separately, but they have a support system, they have a mutual characteristic that they share. While in a romantic relationship, both of us, we're growing together as one individual, like as one unit. We have characteristics that we both share. And while in a friendship, this person may bring a characteristic out of you. While in a relationship, this person will bring out all of the characteristics out of you, which you will learn so much about yourself, and they will learn so much about themselves, and you will learn so much about each other, and you will grow together. So, do you agree with this or no?
Yeah. To me, friendships and relationships are different. They are very different. You are inhabiting a different space in my life, to boil it down to its most basic roots. While there are the basics of a relationship remain the same, so like trust, honesty, communication, all of that other cliche, but still very true stuff. There's like a slight difference betwixt how the two work in those two different kinds of relationships.
But now, let's bring this into focus on relationships. Because some of us sometimes confuse it with friendships. So let's bring up friends with benefits, and then we would tie this bring it into situationship. So what is a friends with benefits for you? And did you ever have friends with benefits? Or do you know people who engage in friends with benefits?
So, I've never had a friends with benefits. I'm like more of a one-night stand kind of person. I've never really had friends with benefits, but to me, from what I've seen, a friends with benefits is there's a mutual agreement that we are going to inhabit a very platonic space in each other's lives, but we're gonna have sex. And that's it. Sometimes, or sometimes it's, we're not really gonna inhabit a space in each other's life at all. Like, you gonna do you, I'm gonna do me, but we gonna have sex.
Okay. Do you think one partner, or sometimes they lie to themselves where they say, I want to be in a friends with benefit relationship with you, but actually in truth they want to be in a relationship with this person? Do you think that any of this kind of fall in line?
I think that happens all the time, and I think people mess themselves up like that. When you are entering a friends with benefits relationship, you gotta know that this is not a real relationship, and if that's what you wanted, you need to say that.
You need to be honest. So, how is a friends with benefit different from a situationship?
So, again, never been there before.
Messy situations.
But from what I've gathered or from what I've seen, situationships are, we're going to be in each other's lives, and we're going to do relationship stuff, and we may even have sex. Hell, I've seen people in situationships with kids. But like we ourselves, there's no like actual understanding as to what we're supposed to be, what we're supposed to mean to each other. And that gets very messy very quick.
Yep. Because, all right, I'm gonna review something. Because when I was young, not that young, not too long ago, I never was in a situationship, but I was engaged in friends with benefits. So this is where, you know, both of us actually wanted the same thing, but we used to go out and hurt each other while we tried to make each other jealous, and I used to try to make them jealous when both of us actually wanted to be in a relationship. So don't you think that's kind of like hurtful in a sense?
I think that is insane. If the two of y'all both wanted a relationship, you should have said I wanted a relationship.
Yeah, but in that moment, I was young. I wanted to explore. I think to tell myself that I wanted to explore different things. I wanted to explore different people. When actually, that's when I came to realization that I'm a selfish person. And that's why I bring this episode today. You need to realize who you are as an individual. Are you the person who can engage in a relationship with no strings attached? Are you the person who can engage with a relationship and get jealous or get upset? Now, which brings this into a situationship, where it is where both parties agree. Well, one person is lying, saying that, oh, I don't want a relationship where the person is benefiting out of the relationship. So a situationship, by my definition, is where both people are doing stuff that is a relationship, but don't subscribe to a label to it, which is messy. Because like one person is lying to themselves, and while the other person is benefiting from it, or even both parties is lying to themselves, and that brings into perspective of, can I be in this? And also, people who engage in situationship, they also date people outside just to find a person that they can be in a relationship with. There's some people who are wise to do that. And some people who just keep lying to themselves. One day I think that they will recognize me and want to be in a relationship. And one day I hope they realize who I am and see me for who I am as an individual and want to be in a relationship with me. Which is like, I think is kind of unhealthy and wasting time. But you have to be honest with yourself. Am I built enough to handle this?
Right. We can keep going on this for days, but I mean, at the end of the day, it's about knowing yourself and knowing what you want, and then knowing what you can handle. Because often what we want and what we can handle are not the same thing.
Exactly. And I'm glad that I'm glad that I brought in your perspective, being a person who haven't been in a romantic relationship versus a person who has been. And sometimes from those relationships that I've had, you learn something about yourself. But it's okay to put yourself out there. I'm not saying that it's wrong to even engage in friends and benefits. I'm not really saying it is bad to be in a situationship, but it's kind of good to put yourself in those type of situations so you can be able to understand yourself. But where it gets unhealthy is where you lie to yourself and where you're not being honest with each other or being honest with yourself, basically. But how can we tell others to be aware of those signs where sometimes we lie to ourselves, be like hoping that one day this person sees us who we are? What are the signs to know that this will not work? I will give you one here. By them saying, oh, I'm really trying to focus on my art right now, or ooh, I'm really trying to like focus on school, so I can't really handle a relationship right now. But I'm happy with what we have right now, so let's keep what we have. So this is like a sign of like, you know, this is a situationship.
That when people don't want to define what it is, when people don't want to say, this is what we are, this is what we aren't. Anytime, and this just is across the board, when people's words and their actions stop lining up, that's the biggest red flag of all. Because now you're lying. And across the board, that won't work.
Now, as we bring this to conclusion, what is your takeaway from this? Like, what is your takeaway from a family, friendship, to a romantic relationship?
That all three are important. All three have their weight, hold their weight, are important, and help shape you as a person. Family is your foundation. Friends is sort of like you testing the waters by yourself. And the relationships, you just kind of out there now. You sailing, bruh. So,
Yeah.
and all three have a different dynamic that needs to be, and they all need to be respected in their place. Yeah, that's pretty much it for me.
So my takeaway from this is, with family-oriented relationship, like, you know, this is the building blocks for you to get out there. And for a friendship, this is like, you know, as you said, testing the waters. In other words, testing what your family has taught you or to make friends. And actually learn more about yourself in the friendship too also. And in a real romantic relationship, this is where everything you learn from friendship to family-oriented relationship, whether you know you're dealing with fake friends and like problematic family members, you can learn to assess these things in a romantic relationship and learn to assess these things whether or not are these things going to work. And as we touched on in the last episode when I asked the question, where do you go to find yourself? Is always to go back to that space where you go to find yourself, whether it's go to meditate or light some sage and burn some incense, or, you know, going for a walk or journaling so you can understand what is going on with you and learn more about yourself, which is why I cannot emphasize, always go to that space. Whenever a particular situation arises and you don't know what's going on, go to that space so you can find yourself and you will answer your questions.
I just wanted to add one thing just for like clarity. We said that family is your building blocks, and then you progress to being friends, and then from and then you progress to having friendships where you sort of test the waters. I don't want people to leave this video thinking that friendships are less important than relationships, that friendships are some sort of, that life has to move like that, that your ultimate goal is to be in a relationship and that you move through those two to get to being in relationships. Friendships are just as important. They are their own space, they are their own territory, and it is healthy to have a friendship. I would argue it is more important to have good friends in your life than it is to be in a romantic relationship.
Yeah, because I touched on the previous episode in intimacy and attachment theory that we need a relationship to be long, and it's a survival tactic for us as human beings because we cannot thrive to be alone. We need a quality over quantity relationship. And always, you know, assess situations where a relationship is strong and maintain those relationships. Romantic relationship I would not emphasize it's an important thing, but it's something that's important to us as humans also. But when it does happen, allow it to flow, live in it, and marinate in the situation. Never rush into it, just let it happen. And let the chips fall as they may.
I like that.
Yeah. So as we bring this episode close, Messiah, thank you once again for being on the show. Tell the viewers where they can find you.
Y'all can follow me on Instagram at 5_Messiah. Not the number 5, literally like 5_ and then Messiah, MESSIAH. And yeah.
All right. Once again, I'm your host, Joe Chanel. You can follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Emotional Nigga, and on Facebook at Black Boy Had Feelings Too. See you guys once again.